This is good. Shh. Quiet, please. Thank you for staying quiet, class. Hello, class. Welcome to this week's filmmaking lesson. I might not be here at Lowe's College. I will be at Walt Disney World to go to Liberty Square Magic Kingdom, and I'll stay at Disney's Wonderlust Lodge. And on February, tomorrow, this is going to be tonight at midnight over. This is going to be at midnight over 12 o'clock strike, and then it will be on a playlist where you class can stay and stay awake until the morning, and then we can just watch a playlist on the big screen. Well, I'm still not be here at Lowe's College though because I'm not watching the big screen. You can ask the other students to just watch it on the big screen, okay? Good class. All right. So first, we will be doing home video releases. On today, we will be doing Almost Famous 2000 film. Here's a plot to this film. In San Diego 1969, child prodigy William Miller struggles to fit in. His life is further complicated after learning that his widowed college professor, Mother Elaine, has falsely led him to believe he is 12 years old. William is actually 11, having started the first grade at 5 years old, and skipping 5th grade. Strong-willed Elaine's strict ban on rock music and her fear of pop culture have a negative effect on her children. Finally driving William's 18-year-old sister Anita to move to San Francisco and become a flight attendant. In 1973, William, now 15, influenced by Anita's secret cache of rock albums, aspires to be a rock journalist, writing freelance articles for underground papers in San Diego. Rock journalist Lester Bangs, impressed with William's writing, gives him a $35 assignment to review a Black Sabbath concert. William is spared from backstage until the opening band, Stillwater, arrives and William flutters his way in. Lead guitarist Russell Hammond takes a liking to him on his new acquaintance, veteran groupie Penny Lane, who was taking William under her wing. Despite behaving as his stereotypical groupies, Penny Lane insists she and her friends are bandmates, a term she invented to describe female fans that are there more for the music than for the rock stars themselves. Rolling Stone editor Ben Fong Torres hires William to write an article about Stillwater based on his skills and sends him on the road with the band. William interviews with the other band members, but Russell repeatedly puts him off. Tensions between Russell and lead singer Jeff Babe soon become evident and not helped at all by the band's first T-shirt, a full band shot that pictures Russell in full view, while the rest of the band is in the shadows. William is jokingly called the enemy by the band as a journalist, but all the same begins to lose his objectivity as he becomes integrated into their inner circle. The record label hires Dennis, a professional manager, to handle problems with venues and promoters. Penny has to leave before the band reaches New York, where Russell's girlfriend Leslie will join them. Penny and her three prodigy band-aids are gambled away to another band in a poker game. Penny acts nonchalant but is devastated. Meanwhile, Dennis charters a small plane so the band can play more gigs. Penny shows up uninvited at the New York restaurant where they are celebrated the news that they are to be featured on the cover of Rolling Stone. Penny is asked to leave after Leslie notices her attempts to get Russell's attention. William chases her into her hotel, where she saves her from overdosing on quaaludes. Flying to a gig the following day, the plane encounters severe weather. Fearing the plane will crash, everyone confesses their secrets, while Jeff and Russell's along simmering conflicts erupt. William confesses his love for Penny after Jeff insults her. The plane lands safely to Topilo, leaving everyone to ponder the changed atmosphere. William arrives at the Rolling Stone office in San Francisco but has difficulty finishing the article. Seeking help, he calls Lester Bangs, who says William will got caught up in being part of the band. He says that his perceived friendships with them are not real and advises him to be honest and unmerciful. Rolling Stone's editors rave over Williams' completed article, but when the magazine's fact checker calls the band, Russell lies to protect Stillwater's image and claims most of it is false. Rolling Stone kills the article, crushing William. Anita encounters a dejected William in the airport and offers to take him anywhere. He chooses for them to go to their home in San Diego. Band-Aid, Sapphire chastises Russell for betraying William. He then calls Penny, wanting to meet her with her, but she gives him William's address. He arrives and finds himself face to face with William's mother, who, during the tour, scolded him over the phone for his behavior. Russell apologizes to William and finally gives him an interview. Russell has verified William's article to Rolling Stone, which runs it as a cover feature. Penny fulfills her long-standing fantasy to go to Morocco, while Stillwater tours again by bus. Alright. On tomorrow, we will be doing Clifford, the Big Red Dog, 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. Emily Elizabeth Howard is a middle school student living with her mother, Maggie, in New York City. She is regularly bullied but finds comfort in her only friend, Owen Yu. Maggie lives in the care of her homeless and irresponsible Uncle Casey before going to Chicago for a business trip. Mr. Bridewell, who runs an animal rescue tent at a carnival, introduces Emily to a small red puppy whose family had been taken by dog catchers. He tells her that the puppy will grow based on how much love he receives. Casey rejects the adoption due to dogs not being allowed in the apartment building. When Emily gets home from school, she finds a puppy in her backpack and names him Clifford. Casey allows her to keep Clifford only for one night. The next morning, Clifford is grown to giant proportions. Emily and Casey attempt to hide him from the building's superintendent, Mr. Packard. They try taking Clifford to a veterinarian, but he chases and plays with a man in an inflatable bubble. Word of his existence quickly spreads online. After learning from the vet's secretary of Bridewell's past miracles with animals and their owners, the Howards plan to get information on his whereabouts. As Emily is getting lunch for Clifford from the cafeteria, Clifford escapes from Casey's truck and humiliates a bully named Florence, giving Emily the friends she always wanted. Zach Tyrion, the owner of biotechnology company Lefegro, discovers Clifford on social media. He lies to the police that Clifford is his dog and has them search for him. After being evicted from their apartment and chased by the police and Lefegro guards, Emily and Casey take shelter in Owen's lavish apartment. Casey tells Emily she can keep Clifford if they find Bridewell and take his advice if he cannot help. Clifford must be sent to Shanghai. They race to the hospital, only to find Bridewell's empty bed and a patient who tells them Bridewell has died. Clifford is thus sent away by a boat arranged by Owen's father as Emily tearfully says goodbye. The next day, Clifford is captured on the ship by Lefregro personnel and sent to Lefregro. Emily soon learns Bridewell did not die, so she and Casey tried to save Clifford from being operated on that Lefregro. Aided by friends from their neighborhood, they break into Lefregro's headquarters, rescue Clifford, and flee in Casey's truck with him. At Central Park, a large crowd gathers as Emily desperately asks Bridewell to help, and he tells her that she must stand up for herself and for Clifford at that being different as a gift. Emily explains to everyone to the importance of love, regardless of differences. However, Zack forces the police to see who Clifford's owner is by checking an ID chip that he had implanted. When the chip identifies Emily as Clifford's rightful owner, the police arrest Zack and inform him that he will be fined for lying to them. Emily, Casey, and Maggie are welcomed back into their apartment. Casey gets a job as a general manager at Scholastic, thus making Clifford famous. Alright. So, on Wednesday, we will be doing Ghostbusters Afterlife 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. In 2021, Egon Spengler captures an entity of occultist evil Stendor's mind in Somerville, Oklahoma, and lures a separate creature to his farm. Egon activates an elaborate setup in his ground, but the power fails and he conceals the ghost trap in his home before being attacked by the creature and suffering a fatal heart attack. His estranged, financially struggling daughter Kaylee inherits the farm and moves there with her children Trevor and Phoebe. After being evicted from their Chicago apartment, Trevor becomes infatuated with car hop Lucky Domingo, and the scientifically minded Phoebe enrolls in a summer science class taught by seismologist Gary Goberson. Phoebe discovers the farmhouse is haunted, and the ghost residing in it leads her to the ghost trap, which she shows to Gary and her new friend podcast. Gary, a fan of the Ghostbusters, helps Phoebe learn more about them and her grandmother and her grandfather. He, Phoebe, and podcast temper with the trap, releasing one of Gozer and Gozarian's sentinels that escapes to the mine. The farm ghost leads Phoebe to Egon's underground laboratory and, realizing the ghost is her grandfather, she restores the Ghostbusters equipment under his guidance while testing the proton pack with podcast. They fight a ghost that haunts Shendor's foundry and flees to the town, having repaired for the Ghostbusters Cadillac Ecto-1's engine. Trevor uses the car to chase the ghost with Phoebe and podcast. They capture the ghost but are arrested for the damage incurred, and their equipment is seized. Recalling the Ghostbusters telephone number, Phoebe contacts Ray Stantz for help and tells him that Egon has died. Ray in turn informs Phoebe of what became of the Ghostbusters following their last mission, and reveals that after the Ghostbusters had disbanded, Egon has stolen equipment and moved to Somerville to pursue an unspecified threat. Egon's little ghost leads Callie to a wall of detailed notes and pictures he kept of his daughter's life, showing he cared about her more than she thought. Phoebe, podcast, Lucky and Trevor find a Gozarian temple within the mine. Exploring further, they discover Shendor is alive in his casket, an automated proton cannons installed by Gigon that hinder Gozar's attempts to cross over. Zul and Vince Chlortho poses Callie and Gary, respectively, and destroy Egon's equipment, allowing Gozer to escape. Shendor awakes and pledges his fealty to Gozer, but she kills him regardless. The children discover Egon's setup is a trap field, an array of traps buried around the property. With the town distracted by supernatural chaos, the children recover the seized equipment and travel to the mine. While Beat distracts Gozer so Podcast can capture Zul, freeing Callie, and weakening Gozer's physical form, they lure Gozer to the trap field, but it malfunctions and Gozer frees Zul, who possesses Lucky and fully restores Gozer's power. Ray and other surviving original Ghostbusters, Peter Venkman and Winston Zendemore, arrive to help, and Gozer, after having already killed Egon, seeks to compete her revenge against them for vanquishing her. Supported by Egon's now visible ghost, Bobby fights Gozer with her proton pack. The Ghostbusters help Bobby restrain Gozer by crossing the proton streams while Trevor uses his to charge the trap's power source. Kelly activates the ghost traps, capturing Gozer and her minions. Egon reconciles with his family and friends before departing for the hereafter. In mid-credit and post-credit scenes, Peter is revealed to be married to Donna Barrett. Winston, having become a wealthy businessman since leaving the Ghostbusters, returns the Ecto-1 to the Ghostbusters firehouse in the basement. A light on the Ecto containment unit flashes red. Alright. On Thursday, we will read Deadlock. Deadlock. 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. Unfortunately, there is no plot. The plot has been disappeared. Alright. On Friday, we will be doing Bambi, 1942 film. Here's a plot to this film. A doe gives birth to a fawn named Bambi, who will one day take over the position of Great Prince of the Forest, a title currently held by Bambi's father, who guards the woodland creatures against the dangers of hunters. The fawn is quickly befriended by an eager, energetic rabbit named Thumper, who helps to teach him to walk and speak. Bambi grows up very attached to his mother. With whom he spends most of his time. He soon makes other friends, including a young skunk named Flower and a female fawn named Feline. Curious and inquisitive, Bambi frequently asks about the world around him and is cautioned about the dangers of life as a forest creature is by his loving mother. One day, out of the meadow, Bambi briefly sees the Great Prince, but does not realize that he is his father. As the Great Prince wanders uphill, he discovers the human hunter named Man, by all the animals, is coming and rushes down to the meadow to get everyone to safety. Bambi is briefly separated from his mother during that time, but is escorted to her by the Great Prince as the three of them make it back in the forest just as Man fires his gun. During Bambi's first winter, he and Thumper play in the snow while Flower hibernates. One day, his mother takes him along to find food. When Man shows up again, as they escape, his mother is shot and killed by the hunter, leaving the little fawn mournful and alone. Taking pity on his abandoned son, the Great Prince leads Bambi home as he reveals to him that he is his father. Next year, Bambi has matured into a young stag, and his childhood friends have also entered young adulthood. They are warned of Twitterpation by friend Owl, and that they will eventually fall in love. Although the trio views the concept of romance with scorn, however, Thumper and Flower soon encountered their beautiful romantic counterparts and abandoned their former thoughts on love. Bambi himself encounters Feline as a beautiful doe. However, their courtship is quickly interrupted and challenged by a belligerent older stag named Bruno, who attempts to force Feline away from Bambi. Bambi successfully manages to defeat Bruno in battle and earn the rights to the doe's affections. Bambi is awakened afterward by the smell of smoke. He follows he follows it and discovers it leads to a hunter camp. His father warns Bambi that man has returned with more hunters, although Bambi is separated from Feline in the turmoil and searches for her along the way. The two flee to safety. He soon finds her cornered by men's vicious hunting dogs, which he manages to ward off. Bambi escapes them and is shot by men, but survives. Meanwhile, at the men's camp, their campfire suddenly spreads into the forest, resulting in a wildfire from which the forest residents flee in fear. Bambi, his father, Feline, and the forest animals manage to reach shelter on a riverbank. The following spring, Feline gives birth to twins under Bambi's watchful eye as the new great prince of the forest. Alright, also on Friday, we were doing the Mighty Ducks 1992 film. Here's the plot to this film. Gordon Bombay, Emilio Estevez, is an arrogant but successful Minneapolis defense attorney. After his 30th successful case, he celebrates by going out drinking, but is arrested for drunk driving and sentenced to 500 hours of community service. By coaching the local District 5 Pee Wee hockey team, Bombay has an unpleasant history with the sport. As a youth in 1973, he was the Hawks' star player, but struggling with the loss of his father, he missed a penalty shot at the end of. Yes, Mom? Yes, Mom? Okay, never mind, class. I think no one's calling me. Alright, let's continue this plot. Of the championship game, which would have won the game for the Hawks, disappointing his hyper-competitive coach, Jack Rayleigh, Lane Smith, the Hawks went on to lose in overtime, becoming one of their only championship defeats. Bombay meets the District 5 team and realizes the children have no practice facility equipment or ability. Their first game with Bombay at the helm is against the Hawks. Rayleigh is still the Hawks' head coach and, despite the nearly unbroken championship streak, remains bitter on Gordon's missed penalty shot. District 5 is soundly defeated as Rayleigh demands the Hawks team run up the score. Bombay berates the team for not listening to him, and the players challenge his authority. For the next match, Bombay tries to teach his team how to dive and draw penalties, which results in another loss, this time to the Jets, angering the team further, specifically one player Charlie Conway, Joshua Jackson, who refused to fake an injury like Bombay instructed him to. Bombay visits his old mentor Hans Joss Ackland, who owns a nearby sporting goods store and was in attendance at the game against the Hawks. While there, Bombay recalls that he quit playing hockey after losing his father 4 months before the championship game, and because Rayleigh blamed him for the loss due to the missed penalty shot, Hans encourages him to rekindle his childhood passion for the sport by skating in a frozen pond like he did when he was a kid. Realizing the error of his ways, he apologizes to Charlie and his mother at their home. Bombay approaches his boss, Gerald Ducksworth, Joseph Sommer, to sponsor the team, allowing them to purchase professional-grade equipment as opposed to the makeshift equipment they had, and give Bombay time to teach the players fundamentals. They recruit three new players, figure skating siblings Tommy, Denny Timberell, and Tammy Duncan, Jane Plank, and slap shot specialist and enforcer Fulton Reed, Eldon Hansen. The potential of Charlie catches Bombay's eye. He takes Charlie under his wing and teaches him some of the tactics he used playing with the Hawks, renamed the Ducks. After Ducksworth, the team plays its next game against the Cardinals to the tie. Bombay learns that, due to districting the Hawks' star player Adam Banks, Vincent LaRusso, lives in District 5 and should be playing for the Ducks, and threatens Riley into transferring Banks to the Ducks. After overhearing an out of the context quote about the team, most of the players walk out except Charlie and Fulton, who form a strong friendship, resulting in the loss or forfeit of the Flames. The Ducks will lose faith in Bombay and with an exception, Charlie and Fulton revert to their old habits. Ducksworth makes a deal with Rayleigh for the Hawks to keep Banks, which Bombay, although initially tempted, refuses on the principles of fair play, which Ducksworth berated him about when he started his community service. Left with the choice of letting his team down or being fired from his job, he takes the latter. Bombay manages to regain his players' trust after they win a crucial match against the Huskies. In order to qualify for the playoffs, the Banks, who decided to play with the Ducks rather than not play hockey at all, proves to be an asset, though Jesse doesn't trust him. The Ducks marched through the playoffs with wins against the Hornets and the Cardinals, reaching the championship game against the Hawks. Riley orders his team to injure Banks to force him out of the game. In spite of this, the Ducks manage to tie late in the final period. Charlie is tripped by a Hawks player as time expires. In precisely the same situation Bombay faced in his youth, Charlie prepares for a game-deciding penalty shot, in stark contrast to Riley, who told Bombay that if he missed, he was letting everyone down. Bombay tells Charlie to take his best shot and that he will believe in him no matter what. Inspired, Charlie takes out the goalie with a triple decade. Bombay taught him and scores, winning the state championship. The Ducks players and their families race in onto the ice of jubilation, where Bombay thanks Hans for his belief in him, and Hans tells Bombay he is proud of him. As Gordon is handed and raises the championship trophy, the team all rally around him and chant Ducks repeatedly in triumphant unison. Some days later, Bombay boards a bus to a minor league tryout, secured for him by the NHL's Basil Rick Ray of the Minnesota North Stars, who played Pee Wee hockey with him as a youth. Although daunted at the prospect of going up against younger players, he receives the same words of encouragement and advice from the Ducks he had given them, promising to return next season to defend their title. Alright. Also on Friday, we were doing In the Heights. Yes, Mom? Yes, Mom? Okay. Okay. It looks like class. I'm gonna have to just turn off anyway, because I'm gonna have to continue this plot, and then I'll have to go to Walt Disney World to go to Magic Kingdom and go to Liberty Square, and then going to stay at the Disney's Wonderland Lodge. So let's continue.